In the fall of 2013, Grand Theft Auto V launched and generated $800 million in revenue within its first 24 hours on sale. This success was heavily enforced by the physical marketing. Every available public space, from convenience store windows to massive billboards, was plastered with the faces of the game's new cast. By 2013, Grand Theft Auto had moved beyond the status of a simple software launch. It was a cultural fixture, backed by a bankroll that made typical copyright disputes look like rounding errors. But pulling in that much cash guarantees one thing: someone, somewhere, is going to try and grab a piece of the spotlight. Which brings us to a Manhattan courthouse in 2014. Actor Lindsay Lohan filed a formal civil lawsuit against Rockstar Games. She claimed that one of the game's minor characters, an erratic, paparazzi-hating celebrity named Lacey Jonas, was an unauthorized, stolen replica of her likeness. This was a highly unusual legal tactic. She wasn't claiming that Rockstar stole a specific copyrighted photograph. She was attempting to claim legal ownership over a collection of vague, everyday concepts and attitudes. Basing a lawsuit on an overall identity set the stage for a bizarre showdown. On one side, a highly aggressive entertainment corporation. On the other, an intense celebrity ego. To see how you prove someone stole a specific identity in a court of law, we have to look at the exact itemized list of evidence submitted by Lohan's legal team. They started with incredibly common traits. The lawsuit noted the character had blonde hair, occasionally wore a bikini, and took selfies on her phone. Then they moved to a geographic claim. The Lacey Jonas character is introduced outside an in-game hotel that looks like the Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood. Lohan noted that she previously lived at the actual Chateau Marmont. The final piece of the identity mosaic came down to a hand gesture. Her team submitted photos of Lohan holding up 2 fingers in a peace sign, mirroring a specific piece of promotional art used to sell the game. Her lawyers knew that nobody owns the concept of a peace sign or blonde hair. Their strategy was to use the sheer volume of these universally common traits to build a mosaic, arguing that when combined, they formed an undeniable copy of her specific person. Rockstar's parent company responded with a total, immediate dismissal of every claim in their filings. They fired back, accusing Lohan of launching the lawsuit as a calculated publicity stunt, designed entirely to piggyback off the game's historic launch. To legally defend their character, Rockstar pulled back the curtain on their creative process. They explained they employ a deliberate strategy known as a satirical composite. Instead of copying a single real person, a satirical composite works by pulling together disparate cultural tropes: the overpriced coffee, the oversized sunglasses, the social media obsession, and combining them into a completely new, fictional stereotype. This left the court to decide between 2 completely conflicting realities. Either Lohan was specifically targeted and copied, or Rockstar had simply invented a generic cultural parody that she happened to recognize herself in. When the final ruling came down, the appellate court completely threw out the lawsuit. The court bypassed technicalities to address the core of the complaint. The judges rejected the foundational idea that a public persona can be owned in this specific way. The judges wrote their decision in precise, unforgiving terms. They ruled that the character was simply a, quote, generic, indistinct, satirical representation of the style, look, and persona of a modern, beach-going young woman. The irony here is sharp. Lohan walked into court seeking judicial validation of her unique identity, and instead, the court used a legal document to dismantle it. She started the process trying to prove she was a one-of-a-kind, legally protected icon. By the end, the legal system had essentially certified that she was entirely indistinguishable from an everyday, generic cultural stereotype. The outcome draws a clear line for creators and celebrities alike. You cannot legally copyright a cultural vibe, and if you force the courts to examine your personal identity against a generic parody, they will enforce the boundary between the two.